and the traffic was terrible. So here I am just sitting in traffic, like crying all the way to Dallas.
All right. Do you want to do introductions? Tell me who you are and why you're here. No, I'm just kidding. Just
Okay.
tell me who you are.
Okay. My name is Brittany. I am a PA in Texas and I work in gynecology.
I'm Cameron. I'm also a PA in Texas. What are the chances? And I work in interventional radiology.
And we're married.
Cool. Good to know. I know this from y'all's social media and Instagram and just what I've seen, but can you fill me in on your journey? Were y'all both pre-PA? Like, I don't know how these stories intertwine.
No, so I was at a young age, my cousin ingrained into me that I needed to go into medicine. She was mainly orthopedic surgeon though, okay? She's like, you're going to be an orthopedic surgeon. But then whenever I was 12, I got to see her birth my baby cousin, and that kind of solidified medicine for me moving forward. And like from that point forward, it was women's health. From that point on, it never really changed. Now that baby cousin is 17 years old. I was pre-med whenever I was an undergrad, go figure. At first I was a biology major, got out of there as fast as I could. And then
Smart.
yeah, I switched to allied health, but I was still pre-med at the time. So I took all the pre-med prereqs, physics, biochem, OChem 2, all of the things. And then I did not decide that I wanted to go into to be a PA until after I had graduated undergrad. So at that point, I was still pre-med, and my GPA it wasn't bad, but it was 3.6.
Okay.
So I was like, that should probably be higher because my science GPA was lower than my overall GPA. So I decided to enroll in a master's course or a master's program at the university at Texas A&M. Gig 'em, Aggies. And I completed that. And then in the summer between graduating undergrad and starting that master's, I decided to switch to the PA profession, mainly because I didn't know about the PA profession, as a lot of people do not.
Right.
And so Cameron had found this interest in the PA profession while in undergrad, and I would go to his meetings and stuff just because we had the same ride home. So I would go to his meetings, and I got to learn about the PA profession from that standpoint. So I made that decision between undergrad and then starting my master's, and that was my goal. Like even during my master's, and looking back, I probably, instead of doing a master's, since my GPA wasn't terrible, I probably should have just went and got PCE. But
she did both.
Looking back.
There you go. It's okay.
Yeah. So I finished my master's, applied to PA school. During my master's, it was my second semester in the master's. Applied and then got in my first round, and I went to UT Health San Antonio.
Yay.
Yeah.
And now you're here doing what you wanted to do, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so aside from being her positive influence to the world of PAs.
Well, Cameron's story is a little bit different.
A little, yeah. I never knew I was going to actually go to college at first, and then somehow I wound up at a community college that wanted to accept me. And it was...
I feel like we gotta go back.
What's back?
Yeah, what was your life goals?
Well, I originally wanted to get into the military. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so Cameron did not have any ambition to go into any sort of extra schooling. We actually met in high school. I'm not saying that I helped him on his algebra test, but I may have, because he was 2 years ahead of me, but I was in the same class, but pre-AP. And so I would help him. So Cameron had no ambition whenever it came.
I was trying to get through. That was it.
Yeah. He was just trying to get into the military because that was kind of his background and his family.
No Child Left Behind was great until it wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was trying to. I thankfully somehow got into a college and started at probably 5th grade math when I got there, and then slowly built back up to what would be college level math. And then at that time, I was like, well, I really love football. I love sports. I love everything about them. I think I want to be a coach. So I was kind of like along that path when I was in my community college phase. And then Brittany at that time was obviously doing all of her pre-med stuff, and she started shadowing a gynecology doctor, OB-GYN doc,
Gynecologist.
whatever, and was really loving it. And I just, we're in a relationship, so we're talking about our days, and she's going over this stuff, and I'm like, wow, that sounds like really, really cool. And so I somehow got into the point where I was like watching surgeries on YouTube, and like I was really interested in things. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And so my path started going down the lines of, well, I think I want to maybe go to med school and see how that path treats me. And I was, for whatever reason, extremely lucky. And my biology teacher had a married-in cousin who was an orthopedic surgeon. And I started shadowing him. And he was an extremely positive influence, really, really great physician, and he happened to have 2 PAs as well. And so I was shadowing all of them, and I was like, whoa, these like PA guys are like, they're number 2 in the surgery. They're doing half of the surgery. He's doing the other half. This is really gnarly. I was kind of curious, and so I started to shadow them. And then I got onto the line. I was like, oh, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. I want to be a PA rather than a physician. Mainly because of the years. I thought I was like really far behind, because when I went to college, how old was I? Probably 22,
I don't
23.
think you I don't think you started college until I was.
You have to make everything your age, don't you?
Yeah.
And then transfer it over.
You started college my sophomore year. I was 19, so you were 22.
Okay, so I always, for whatever reason, was like, oh, I'm really far behind. I don't want to go to school for 10 plus years and do all the things. And probably in some aspect of my brain, I was really insecure about like my level of smartness. So I was like, maybe I'm just not smart enough to do all those things. And that was probably a part of it at the very beginning. And then whenever I really got onto the path of like, I chose my path, my grades started really improving and being really good, and I was more on the upward scale rather than the just playing even at the Brittany level. And so I was able to eventually overcome some like learning problems, and had like testing disabilities and stuff like that. And so then I eventually was accepted at UT Southwestern, which is one of the best schools in the state. So that was.
You forgot to say that you transferred into A&M.
Oh well, I did go to A&M. Yeah, thankfully somehow I got.
Nice.
Which. I'm really proud to be an Aggie, because I never thought I would ever be, quote, smart enough to go to college. So that was a really big accomplishment to me.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. So little different backgrounds.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Although
though
we are both first generation college students. My dad didn't graduate high school. He is in his 70s, so that was like just what they did back then.
Yeah.
My mom actually did really, really well in school, but then like it was just blue collar thing to just not go to college.
Right.
Both my parents went to the military instead, so that's where military came from me.
Yeah. End up with medicine. I love it. Yeah. So wait, did you? I get so confused by the Texas schools. I'm gonna be honest, because there's a lot of them. Did y'all go to the same PA program, or you didn't?
No, different.
No, that's why I thought it was different.
Yes,
6 hours apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the same time, or not at the same time?
We applied in
May of 2000.
May of 2018.
Okay.
We applied in 2018. Whenever we were applying, I was like, hopefully this is not going to be an issue for me. Like I had like a master's, and I was like, they look at you well-rounded. I don't have the best PCE, but I have a really great GPA. I had a 4.0 in my master's program. I mean, not to like toot my own horn, but and then yeah. And then so we applied in May. We both did, and I was like, we were already planning. This is one of the things that I always tell the people that I advise, is that like you always have to be preparing for the next cycle, no matter how great your application is. I had a non-healthcare job on campus, and I was preparing to quit that and then move on to just full-time patient care experience afterwards. Cameron was already planning to apply to my master's program. Like we had a plan in place. What happened is that we thought that I was going to get accepted no problem, and then Cameron might have to,
Do the master's program.
do the master's program.
Yeah.
And
I got accepted first.
what happened was,
Oh gosh.
what happened is that yes, there are schools there's several schools in Texas, and Texas is a massive state.
Mhm.
So I got my interview probably in like July, I think, June or July.
You got the invite.
I got the interview invite in June or July, and I was like, heck yeah, bag secured, let's go. And then before my interview, Cameron got his interview invite for UT Southwestern.
Like 2 weeks prior to my interview.
Yes.
Okay.
So I interviewed early on.
Yes. So Cameron got his interview invite later than me. Mark that. Let that be in the notes, okay? He got his interview invite after me, but his interview was before me.
First round of interviews for my school.
And if you don't know anything about Texas geography, is that my interview was at UNT in Fort Worth, and then his was in Dallas.
Extremely
so
close.
Would have been perfect. They're in the same metroplex. Would have been a perfect situation, right? But Cameron interviewed on a Saturday, and we were napping on Sunday or on Monday because it was the first day of the semester. Because
I was white.
Takes it out of him,
Yeah.
They literally called him during our nap, and it was after 5.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting that.
So when he called the school back,
I maybe called like at 5:06 or something like that. Something really early.
Yeah.
I immediately got the voicemail line of UT Southwestern. I was like, what does this mean? Are they saying they hate me, or are they saying they like me? I don't know.
You messed up.
Yeah. And so like it was such a cliffhanger that night.
Yeah. That's very nerve-wracking.
Are you excited, or you can't be until you
I would assume I messed up. I would assume they like needed something. They're like, oh, we need a background check. Like, we need something from you.
Yeah.
Not that they were calling with good news.
How did you actually figure out?
Well, I called the program the next day, and I spoke to Isela, which is like now that I know, she's like one of the main people for admin, and she was like, oh, your last name's Orm, yeah, you got accepted. And I was like, what? I'm like walking around campus, I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, you got accepted. She's like extremely like flat.
Very
no big deal.
Oh my God, thank you. And so
no big deal.
I like told everybody, and that same night, day number 2, the admissions director called me again. And what was I doing? I was asleep.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
They're like, should we have done this? That's okay.
I was so mad.
Yeah, so when my interview was a couple weeks later, after he had gotten his acceptance, you can only imagine the immense pressure that I was under.
Yeah.
And my sister was like thinking about buying a house like wherever we went so that we could rent it out from them.
Yeah.
So she was like looking at Zillow, being like, this is where y'all are gonna live type of thing. Like, are you planning this out? And I was like, I'm the kind of person that's like, no, you can't do that yet, because then when it doesn't work out, you're going to be extremely sad. So I was under a lot of pressure, obviously. Didn't think I performed poorly, but God, I really did not like their interview style.
Okay.
It's what they call modified MMI, and there's like writing portions and group portions. I mean, I feel like the face-to-face was only like 15 minutes, which I really hate interviews like that. But so got the call like maybe a week or not. I got the email. I didn't get a call. I got an email a week or 2 later at work, being like, "Hey, we regret to inform you, blah 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 blah." So I go into my office and I like cry the whole day because life is ruined. But I still had an interview for UT Health San Antonio.
Okay.
So and that was in October. So this interview I had at UT was in August or September, and this one was in October. And so I was like 5 hours away from Dallas.
That's pretty unlikely.
And so I was like, this is very selfish of me, and I hate saying this now. But honestly, I feel like it worked to my advantage. But I walked into that interview kind of being like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Because I was like, if I get in here, it's going to suck. And if I get in here, it's going to be great,
At the same time.
But I was definitely focusing more on the first one for sure.
Yeah.
Because we had lived together for 5 years at this point, and we were about to get married, and it just was not going to be a good situation. So I interviewed on a Monday, got a call on Friday. A call this time, not an email, saying that I was accepted. Oh, I forgot to say, I walked into the interview because I was so like, whatever happens, happens. I was way more relaxed in that interview than I was for UNT.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I think that was to my advantage, because whenever you're stressed out and anxious in an interview, you say random stuff. Also, San Antonio had a really great MMI,
like a real MMI,
like a
True one.
a very standard like 10-room MMI, which I hated before, loved after. But yeah, I kind of went in there just being like, whatever, and it worked to my advantage. So here we are.
Yeah. That's wait, did y'all apply to the same programs? And that's just how it fleshed out, or no?
Interestingly enough, the 2 programs that I interviewed at, Cameron did not apply to because they had certain prereq requirements that I had from being pre-med, and Cameron did not have it. So biochem was why he did not apply to San Antonio.
Okay.
But we were just like, so we had done long distance before, because we started quote unquote dating in high school whenever I was 16 and Cameron was graduated.
At pre-PH, let's just say that.
Yeah. But he was out of the state, so, nothing could happen. So we were long distance for 2 years. So we were like, we're going to apply wherever. It's only for 2.5 years, and you do what you need to do.
Yeah.
So, it was freaking hard.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to love it. I was like, I'm going to get Indian food every freaking week. Let's go. And because at that time, she hated Indian food.
I did. I loved it at that time.
Yeah. So
that's a really funny thing to be excited about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was excited for Indian food and to turn the AC up to like 80.
I did that one.
That's really funny.
I usually slept at 8 degrees.
No, but that's hard even like from like a loan standpoint. Like you're having to take out living expenses in 2 different places. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, our loan amount. So right now I think we're sitting at, interest started reaccruing. But before it did, we were sitting at like 220, I think. Because I think that if Daddy Biden would have given us our money, it would have gone to under 200.
Yeah.
But it didn't. So
that makes sense for 2 people going through PA school. I mean, that's
tuition was not the problem.
No, our programs are like in the top like 5 cheapest programs in the nation. So our tuition, my tuition was only $45K. Cameron was like between 45 and 50. But it's the living expenses that are so expensive. I mean, I paid a relatively cheap amount for my rent. It was $750. Cameron was paying like $1,000 because he was in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then I lived with my sister. I did not get that for free. I just want to have that on the record. I tell people that I live with my sister, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's so nice." I'm like,
"It was still cheaper."
I mean, it was nice, yes, but
still cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I shamelessly say I moved in with my parents.
Yeah. Dude, if you can, absolutely. Because if you think about it, $750 times 30, what is that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
more than I want to think about.
That's over 20,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here, let me do the math.
I moved in with my parents for the first year.
750 times 30, 22,500.
Yeah, and that just compounds and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So did y'all see each other ever?
Yeah.
So whenever we first started school, Cameron, we both had an extremly hard time.
Yeah, that first summer was extremely tough.
Yeah.
With the academics or the transition or like
all of it.
All of it. Okay.
Not living together for the first time ever was tough. Figuring like just life in general, like my car battery died. Thankfully, I was like less than a mile from campus. Once I figured that walk out, I was like, this is incredible. I walked every single day to school. I never drove.
That's nice.
Yeah, I was able to either walk through school buildings in order to get there, or walk to the on-campus bus. It was incredibly nice being so close. I would never trade that again. And then we had.
So we got married 16 days before PA school started.
I don't think that matters in this part of things.
Yeah.
That
Did you
sucks.
just see her face? That was a bombshell.
No, that does suck.
Yeah. So we got married 16 days before.
Like people, like a lot of people would think they couldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had to move our wedding twice.
Yeah.
Because we had a destination wedding, so it wasn't like a huge deal to do that. But our initial wedding was like in the summer, because usually PA schools start in the fall-ish.
Yes.
And so Cameron got accepted. His start date was May 20th. So we had to move it up to before that. I got accepted. My school also started on May 20th, but I had a week of orientation before. So then we had to move it up even more. So, yeah, we ended up getting married 16 days before PA school, coming back to Texas, and then going to our separate cities after that. And
It's just stressful. That's just a lot.
The day that he left was like, because we were in San Antonio and he left to go to Dallas, was miserable. And then Memorial Day was shortly after that. So I was like, I'm driving to Dallas. And the traffic was terrible. So here I am just sitting in traffic, like crying all the way to Dallas. Cameron's like, stop crying. You can't see the road. And I was like, I can't. Yeah, that was really tough. So, in that first weekend, Cameron was like, we're not going to be able to see each other. Like
when I saw the amount of the schedule, like the amount of work was in that first summer, I don't think it's possible. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, we found the bus system that went back and forth between San Antonio and Dallas. And let me tell you how much nausea I had. Like, I did not take Polamine once, and I should have, honestly. I was just nauseous and studying. That's all I had.
Yeah.
So it was bad.
Yeah, I would love to say that I studied, but I didn't.
Yeah, she had never. But you needed that time to decompress.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice, because then you don't have to drive it.
Yeah. Yeah. But then also, every time I got on that bus, something happened.
Oh no.
They
the
were
luck.
late.
Yeah.
One time our bus got into a wreck. Mm-hmm. One time, which I was already in distress because I had left my car keys at Cameron's house, which also had my house keys on it. And my sister was gone for that week, so I couldn't get into my house. Then the bus ended up filling up with people, which never happened. So here I am crying, no chapstick, which, fun fact about me, I'm addicted to chapstick physically, not mentally, physically.
And it might have something to do with their perioral, to be honest. We may need to talk about that.
Maybe. So, yeah, no chapstick, no keys. I have a lot of anxiety about staying home alone, like at the house that I lived in San Antonio. So it was terrible.
That's a lot.
Cameron had the best time, though.
Yeah.
The best time.
I never had a problem on the bus.
Oh my gosh.
Just me.
Wow.
Just me.
A lot of stress about getting there on time and stuff like that, but
yeah.
That
I mean,
great.
I remember going back to like how tough PA school was. Also, another thing that happened was that in undergrad and in my master's, I had a study method that was like, you put a PowerPoint on one side of your screen and you put a Google Doc on the other, and you just type everything out. Mm-hmm. And then once you're done typing that out, you print it out and then study from it. And by the time the paper crinkles a certain way, that's how you know that you're ready.
Yeah,
right?
I like that. I'm similar.
So when I got to PA school, I don't know if you know this, but that you can't do that.
Yeah, there's not time.
No, there's not time, and there's a lot of pictures. So I quickly had to realize that I tried to put a group together to be like, hey, you do this lecture, I'll do this lecture. It fell apart very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever got off the ground. And then I was like,
y'all tried something with cooking too.
Yeah. And so
all good intentions.
I had to learn how to study directly from the PowerPoint, which was extremely difficult for me.
Yeah, but I introduced you to that. I told you that, and you said, "There's no way I can do that."
You have to.
Got no choice.
Yeah.
That's the only way to study.
But
y'all probably couldn't even study together necessarily, because a lot of programs don't go curriculum-wise at the same time.
They weren't. One moment in particular that I remember, it was like, I think the second week of PA school, and one of my favorite professor came up to me and was like, "How are you doing, Brittany?" And I literally looked at him with this like blank fake smile face, and I could feel the tears like welling up behind me. And I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. And I like went to the bathroom and just like had a good little cry session there. And
She was unwell.
yeah, I went back to him and I said, "Stop asking us how we're doing. We are not okay. We are not." So every time like a new class would start at my school, I get like so much anxiety from it. Like just like secondhand anxiety.
I feel like that's a universal experience in PA school, is like that moment when at some point someone, whether it's faculty or another student or family, for me it was like all three, at some point were like, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "Not good." Not good.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we went to a small group session and it was me and three other girls in my class and my favorite teacher, and it was our teacher for that section. And she was teaching us ortho. It was like towards the end of the first clin med semester. And she was like, "Guys, how's it going? What y'all like, studying going well?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Last night I sat at the table and cried." Like, "No, it's not going." And then everyone else in my group was like, "Me too."
Yeah.
I was just,
Yeah.
And
this is where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, you realize like everybody's kind of handling PA school a little bit differently. You're all kind of roughed up by PA school, but some people are able to put on a better front than others. But like when we would start talking with each other about it, it'd be like, "Oh no, yeah, I'm on antidepressants."
Like,
and
this is not good.
a ton of my class, and I think maybe your class too, but a ton of us were on antidepressants that had never been before.
Yeah. I
Need
mean,
some help.
you know, I did not start. So Lexa, aka Lexapro, is my best friend.
I've seen you post on Instagram and it's so funny.
So I made it through all of didactic, not being on any sort of anti-depression, anti-anxiety medication. Yeah. I went to the student counseling center a couple times, cried my face off.
Never really talked in the sessions, just cried.
And then really what broke me was clinicals, which everybody says clinicals get so much better and easier, right? Easy. Which is true, but
you're different.
What they don't tell you is that there's a change. So there's going to be a complete change in your study methods from didactic to undergrad, which I had mastered didactic. I had mastered it. Again, not to toot my own horn, but I got a 4.0 in PA school. Thanks.
I did not.
So I had mastered didactic, and then going into clinicals, it is a whole new ball game. And there is no PowerPoint to study from. You have to find your own materials to study from. And I just remember that first weekend crying so much that my eyes were like almost swollen shut, because I was chilling that first week. I was chilling. And then I got together with my PA school friends, and they were like freaking out. And I was like, "Why are y'all freaking out?" And then I finally looked at my internal medicine like topic list, and I was like,
"Was that your first one?"
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I looked at that topic list, and I was like, "Oh," and then I started crying. That's fine. And so after, I didn't get to start my Lexapro though until I literally got the prescription like the day before my EOR, but I was like, I'm not going to start it before my EOR. Yeah. So I started it the day of my EOR,
But you got propanolol.
I did get propanolol. I did take that.
Yeah.
So yeah, me and Lexa have been together for 3 years now. We're best friends. And let me tell you, the difference that I was from my first EOR to my second EOR just 28 days later was, and my second EOR was emergency medicine.
Ooh.
Hard. And the world of difference between those 2 days was incredible. And so I always like to, especially when I'm talking to my patients now and I'm talking about anxiety and stuff, I tell them that story, because if I would have started my Lexapro in didactic, I probably wouldn't have hated PA school so much.
Yeah.
In didactic.
I tried telling you.
I had an experience,
Yeah. But Cameron had more depression.
Oh, yeah. I was pretty depressed.
Because you miss Brittany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were in PA school.
Yeah. He was on Wellbutrin.
Yeah.
It's just a tough... I think the biggest thing is that, well, luckily y'all had each other, but like no one else understands. And that is also difficult. Like the people that you're in class with understand, but like they also have their own stuff going on and can only support each other to a certain extent.
Yeah. And let me tell you, my friends put on a good front. They did. I know they were
In
stressed.
PA school?
Yeah. When we studied together, we were all anxious, but like my friend Shelby in general, she always just seemed so chill.
Yeah.
So chill. And that's just her personality.
Yeah.
But I was like, am I supposed to be like you? Why am I over here and you're over here? I don't understand.
I was probably in the middle, but I had a super chill friend and then I had a not super chill friend. And so I was kind of like the teeter totter, like in the middle of like, you should be more worried and you need to chill out more. Like, no, you can't know every detail in every book. Like, that's not possible. So we got to reframe this.
Yeah.
But you over here, I need you to worry a little bit more. Well, and that's the interesting thing about PA school too, is like you get every personality. I feel like it's this like little melting pot of a class.
You really do. But kind of how I combated my anxiety in PA school is killing myself. Like studying until 10 p.m. every night, like, and just wake up the next day and do it over again. Because my anxiety is when I get to a test and I don't know the answers to several questions, and that's when it kicks in. So I knew in order to prevent that, I needed to kill myself in order to get there.
But do you feel like that was helpful, or do you feel like...
No.
Okay. Because I did that too. My first 2 semesters, that was me. I'm like literally falling asleep in my bed with my book hitting my face.
Yeah.
And then going into probably 3rd semester, like I almost remember the day. I actually do remember the day because I was living at home with my parents and they said, "Hey, do you want to go get Mexican for dinner?" And I would like looked at them and I was like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "I have to study." No. And they're like, "You also need to eat, but like we'll bring you dinner." And after they left, I was kind of like, "Wait, you're right. Like at some point I am going to have to eat dinner. And yes, I can study while I eat dinner, but like for us to run up the road and get food and come back, it would take at most probably 45 minutes."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like,
also you're like falling asleep studying. It's not
effective.
No.
And that's why I was like, will this 45 minutes be the difference in me like passing a class, or will it be the difference in maybe me getting one question right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should take some breaks and not do this.
I honestly wish that I would have gotten a B early on so that I wasn't competing with myself. Yeah. Because really that's what it was. It's like, I made it this long. I can't go messing that streak up now.
How many people have asked what your PA school GPA was?
Like professionally, none.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's that's what I tell people. It's a cool bragging point. I will say
it is. I'm proud of you, but it's also
professionally none.
Doesn't matter.
And so when I talk to people, I tell them like, yes, I got like, because they always ask me like, was PA school hard for you? And then they'll be like, what was your GPA? And I'm like, okay, wait. This is not a fair question because my GPA was a 4.0 because I literally didn't do anything. And I don't suggest that.
Don't do it.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that will probably make you mad or sad. But so I didn't have standardized EORs. They started the year after me. So we just had the ones that my school came up with. Yeah. So I don't think ours were nearly what yours were.
I mean, that doesn't make me mad.
I just feel bad, like, because ours were hard. I mean, every test is hard, but like the ones now, like, they are really rough, especially like I've heard internal medicine, emergency medicine, like those big ones that just have everything.
Yeah.
I found my faculty tests to be way harder than any other test I took in PA school. Because I really leaned on the fact that they had hundreds of people read that test question. My faculty My cardiology test, she wrote those questions the day before, and they were trash, and they
Yeah.
did not make sense. And you would have
Ours
so
are
many
that.
questions where they'd be like, "Yeah, there's like 30% of y'all that didn't get that one right, which is high, but we think it still is fine, so we're gonna accept it." And I'm just like,
It's a problem.
that's not fair.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why 30% of the class chose this one answer, because you told us that that was a thing during the lecture. And I can pull up the freaking notes to prove it. And there was a question. Not even cardiology, but I remember it. And they had never told us that DDAVP is also the drug called desmopressin. They'd never told us that. They
Hashtag trauma.
and
Wow,
every
you know
single
everything.
lecture, they called it DDAVP. No idea what that stands for. Not a clue. But I know the other name for it is desmopressin because I took Kaplan testing, and I tortured myself with her questions that she never even looked at. And I got that question right, but I was like, "There's no way anybody else in here should know that unless they looked up other names for DDAVP." I was so mad. And so many people got it wrong, but they still counted it as like a legit question.
But you know who didn't get it wrong? You. You.
But yeah,
Good job.
Yeah.
I thought every single other test, besides maybe the gynecology EOR or OB-GYN, was extremely easy. I was never worried about failing besides the GYN one. That was it.
Well, you
I
probably
thought-
felt very prepared for boards.
Yeah, I really did.
I wholeheartedly believed I had failed my first EOR. Mainly because I had a whole 2-hour panic attack throughout the entire thing.
Yep.
And that's when my friend Lexa entered my life that night. So, but see, here's the thing about Cameron is that he doesn't have anxiety. He had depression.
Yeah.
My anxiety was
So-
cured by my testing allowances. So my anxiety got cured by that. But
What do you mean by your testing allowances?
I had extended time during testing, which
Mhm.
allowed me time to have mini panic attacks during a test. But then I could work my way through it and be like, "Oh, I'm just going to skip this after my 2 to 3 minute session of like, I don't know anything." And then I just move on. So that allowed me to have that time. There was times where I used the full 2.5 hours.
Cameron, so here's the thing is that Cameron was never anxious for his tests.
Yeah.
To where like I would literally no, I would wake up at like on test days. I would wake up at 4 a.m. Go to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was not even open yet, so I would wait in their drive-through, and then get Chick-fil-A. Go to the library. Eyes super heavy, super itchy because they're so tired, and just like look over everything before the exam. Just one more time. But Cameron like did not have that. And so when he says that he wasn't anxious for any of his EORs, just know that doesn't come like from a sane place.
It's a different place.
And I definitely do think that the PAEA is that who makes them. Oh, so far I don't know. I don't even.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think PAEA makes the EORs, and I will tell you that our clinical director, who like administered the EORs for us, scared the crap out of us. She was like, "It's so hard. So many people fail. Be prepared. Do not take it lightly." And so I think everyone ended up.
That was the goal, though.
I wouldn't necessarily saying over prepared, but I definitely do think studying for all of the EORs, like from a PAEA standpoint, and having the topic list helped so much when going to take the PANCE, because I had a lot of. I wouldn't say confidence because I was never confident in myself, but I didn't have as much anxiety going into the PANCE because I had been preparing for this for the past 30 months. Like I took an EOR at the end of every single rotation, and we had 15 of them. So I took 15 EORs, and then I was like, that should be enough.
Yeah.
And you felt ready.
Yeah.
Well, as ready as you could be.
Yeah.
Plus your cumulative exam at the end, which
yeah,
nobody
like
tells
EOC.
you about.
Now, do I still have dreams about me having to take the PANCE now, even though I haven't done any studying for it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Almost every week.
That's I had a dream recently, a very vivid dream, that I, at this point in my life, decided to go back to PA school to see what it was like again. So I applied. I'm working as a derm PA still. this doesn't logistically make sense. And I applied and I like went to class the first day and I like went to class and sat down and they started and I was like, why am I here? Why am I doing this again?
Yeah.
And
That's a bad
I don't know why. Like,
Yeah.
I've definitely
Yeah.
done that. Like mine's more like high school, like sitting back down in high school in a math class. And I'm like, why? I don't need to be here, but I have a test. I have to take it.
no,
I
why
had a
am I
reoccurring
here?
dream from high school. I was in drill team when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But I quit because there was conflicting things between student council, and I was just more into student council. And I still have dreams that I like rejoined at this stage in my life and don't know the dances, but they're expecting me to go dance. And I don't know where that comes from. Some sort of trauma in my life, but that one happens pretty often too.
These have to mean something. That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to take too much of y'all's time, but I do want to hear about your jobs.
Okay.
Because, well, number one, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know what you do in interventional radiology.
That's fair.
And
That's fair, because I don't know that I do either.
number two, everyone wants to go into gynecology or thinks they do. And everyone wants to, quote, deliver babies. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as a PA in gynecology.
Yeah. Who do you want to go first?
Whoever.
You go.
So I only do gynecology. I don't do OB, and that is not specific to PAs though, because in PA school, the PA that I was with did both OB and gyn, but she didn't deliver babies. She was purely clinic. Now I will say I am a person of repetition, and that is where I'm comfortable, and that is a lot of what my job does, and Cameron's is the complete opposite of that. So I work in a clinic Monday through Friday. I see a lot of annuals. A lot of them. You know, okay, go ahead and put your hands up in the air like you just don't care. I'm going to do your breast exam. That kind of thing. Now, what I like about that is I'm getting to the point now to where I'm seeing patients. I know them. Or at least when I look back, I'm like, oh, I've seen them before. Because I have such a terrible memory.
Yeah.
But, or, you know, and those people that I do know, you know, usually it's not for a good reason, you know? So I'm getting to that point now where I'm seeing people over and over again, and it's fun because one thing that I do and that I said that I would do from a long time ago was that I make little notes in their chart about what we talked about that time, and then I bring it up again, and then they're like, you have such a good memory, and I'm like,
Sure do.
No, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot remember faces and I cannot remember names, but I can remember the entire story that we talked about the last time that I was with you. And that's why I'm so big into telling stories and personal statements, because that is really what makes things stick. But anyways, so I see a lot of annuals. My favorite part about my job is that everybody knows women's health as a female going into a gynecology appointment is uncomfortable. Everybody knows it, right? I've been putting off my PAP for a while now. You know, probably shouldn't, but I have been. It's uncomfortable, and I know that. But what I love most about my job is that I have the personality where if somebody comes in, I have a smile on my face the entire time. I will make it the funnest visit that you've had in a very long time, and I will make you comfortable, and I will listen to you. Whatever you're saying, I will listen to you. And I will have a conversation to where we will get to the end of the visit, and you'll be like, that wasn't bad at all because we were talking the entire time. And so what I love about my job is that I can be someone who makes a situation fun, even though it's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I really love seeing like the 21-year-olds because I get to shape their entire perspective of women's health, like their life moving forward. So those are probably my favorite visits, that and my Lexapro visit. But yes, I work Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. And then on Fridays, I work 8 to 3-ish.
What's your extra time?
I see about
Take extra time.
20 patients a day. What are you talking about?
You don't leave at 5 o'clock every day?
I usually leave at like 5:30 because I'm clearing out my box.
Yes. You have a box that you have to clear out, which is toxic. I don't got one.
Oh, you don't have a box.
Yeah,
That's why he's saying that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a box. Like an inbox?
Yeah.
like results that
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back,
yeah.
and you have to
have
tell your
like
patients.
biopsies and
You
stuff.
have to
Yeah. I do it. I usually do mine first thing in the morning,
I just do mine throughout the whole day.
and then throughout the day.
Yeah, and then if I still have some in the evening, then I'll go ahead and I'll finish it out. Get the ones out that I can,
Yeah.
and for ones that I have to use my brain, I'm like, we'll save that for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
So
bio.
that's what my days. It's very like repetitive, and I see the
Yeah.
same people every day, and I love that. I love it.
Yeah, I don't
I
like this.
love that you found that perfect match job for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, but I will say that I do have a person in my class who does deliver babies.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but
In Georgia, PAs are not allowed to deliver
oh,
babies.
really?
Only midwives.
Yeah.
Not even nurse practitioners.
No midwives.
Mm-mm.
Same.
No, they would have to like specifically have
Nurse,
the midwife
women's health
training.
nurse practitioners are purely clinical. Purely.
So could a surgical nurse practitioner?
Would that be acute
Not
care?
in Georgia.
Yeah. But PAs can deliver babies in Texas, but it's pretty rare because the midwives, the residents, the physicians take over. But she works in a rural setting, so
Oh, okay.
No,
yeah.
what's her name? Ashlyn.
Huh.
She works in our area and she delivers. Ashlyn Bone with Jana.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
So, anyways, I work in the little black box called interventional radiology, which a lot of people say, So, interventional
Does it have to
radiology.
do with cardiology, or am I wrong? That's
They
different.
Interventional cardiology.
there is some radiologists which do that, yes,
Okay.
but that would be kind of like another subspecialty within interventional radiology. Like there's neurointerventional radiologists which do stroke cases, thrombectomies, carotid and up essentially, plus all the other interventional radiology stuff. So as a PA in interventional radiology, the way I see my role is to be like a little vacuum that sucks up all the baby cases so that my docs can do the big cases.
I
Okay.
really don't like that you say that.
That's the way I see my goal. It's not your story. It's mine.
So you don't like that?
No, because people will be like, and I hate when they say this like in their interview or their mock interviews or in their personal statements, is that like, yeah, so the PAs see like the easy cases so that the doctors can see the big cases, and I'm like, I mean, true to like some extent, but like not in all settings. It's just like I feel like it's like bringing down what you do when you say that.
I mean, I don't see it like that.
So that's interesting.
I get to.
I get what you're saying. I think I wouldn't necessarily like it like what you're saying, Brittany, in like an interview setting from a
Right.
Yeah.
student. But I get what you're like, because I say something similar. Like when people are like, "Oh, do you like assist the doctor?" I'm like, "Yeah, I let her take more vacations. Like
Yeah.
that's my job. That's why
Yeah.
I'm there." I guess part of what I really do see my job is like make her life easier, whatever that looks like.
And my docs realize that their lives are easier. Every single
Yeah.
interventionalist that works with PAs says, I would not be able to do what I do without you. They're able to read more diagnostic images. They can do a CT scan in the same, like 5 CT scans in the same time that I can do 20 procedures, but they wouldn't have been able to do those. And let me tell you, those CT scans pay way more than a little paracentesis or a thyroid or even a line placement. So they truly appreciate it. And like the way that I see it most is we just started at the PAs started at a new hospital, and we've not been at this one before, but our docs have, and they had been there for probably 2 or 3 years requesting PAs to help, and the company's like, you don't have enough, you don't got enough cases or patients for us to be able to give them to you. So they're like, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And when we came in there, the highest RVUs, because now we gauge RVUs, which is essentially like the points at which your cases count. And if you have so many RVUs, then they pay so much, blah, blah, blah. And so the RVUs at our biggest hospital was 2,500. This hospital now has 1,500, which is a big jump. The next hospital has 1,400, so there's a big jump there. But it's a lot of points that this hospital gets.
Yeah.
And our physicians that work there are like, this is incredible. That doesn't even count what the docs do. That's just what the PAs are doing in that hospital, which is a lot. And so they're like, for the diagnostic docs that we're having to do something called fluoroscopy, which is essentially you swallow contrast, or we put contrast somewhere in the body and we take pictures of it. They're like, they hate that part of their job. A lot of them really don't like it.
So do you.
I dislike it, yes, but it's still semi-interesting. But they really hate it, and they're like, "Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this enema or this esophagram, whatever." They really like it. So I do a lot of different cases. So the thing that is different in my job, like I may go months without doing a certain type of procedure, and then I'm like expected to be able to, oh, now this procedure dropped onto the board and it's quote a PA case, so I will do it. Like the other day, I did a feeding tube exchange, except for it's a J tube, so it goes deeper down into the small bowel, and I hadn't done a J tube exchange in a long time. I'd done G tubes, but not a J tube. And so I was doing this case and I was like trying to remember the steps. And the biggest thing in interventional radiology is don't lose your access. It's important that once you have access, you try to always have it, because you may not be able to get it again. And I lost access. And so me and the rad tech that I was working with were trying to get access back again. But it's like, I really like that part of my job is I do a lot of different things that I may not have done in a while. And then I might go do rounding, and then I might go downstairs and help with fluoroscopy. So depending upon where I'm at, I work either 7:30 to 4:30 or 8 to 4:30. But usually I could be done by 4 o'clock and leave.
Yeah.
Which
nice. And you're doing mostly procedures?
Huh?
You do mostly procedures?
It depends upon where you're at. So that newest location, we do all three. We do rounding, fluoroscopy, and procedures.
Nice.
And so like this last Friday, I did a ton of line placements into the neck. I did some biopsies. I did drainages, and then I did rounding on like 5 different people that we had seen the prior day.
So since Cameron is no longer in training, he's going to several locations now.
Yeah.
But whenever he was at his initial location at like their training hospital, every day he would have like a different, like, I'm on IR2 today, and IR2 is the rounding team. But tomorrow I'm on IR1, and that's the procedure team. And then the next day I'm on fluoro, so I'll be doing fluoro. And then if there like ever is like a lull or anything, then they can go help other people.
And at that really hospital, which is our training hospital, it's very sectionalized. So usually one team doesn't have to help the other team, and it's a really good learning basis. Like we have probably 5 new PAs that are going to be onboarding over the next 8 months or so. And so they'll be mainly at that hospital doing all the learning stuff. And my company is really great. Like when they say like you're going to have 1 year of learning, it's not like, oh, we're actually going to throw you to the wolves in 2 months. It's a true learning basis. And I feel like our company does a really good job trying to value us and make us feel valued most of the time. They're a company still, but they do a really good job of helping the PAs when they need it. And we have a really receptive supervisor who's also a PA as well. And we all really like each other. All the PAs work really well. We're not gunning for some of each other and like trying to like, I don't know, steal cases and stuff like that. We do a pretty good job helping. We do a lot of like individual get-togethers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it was fun.
I forgot to say I'm the only PA in my practice.
True that. Which is what they say, right? Don't be the first PA, and that you were.
Do they have NPs or just no? Like you're.
So we have like, I should know these numbers by now, but I think we have like 6 physicians, and then me. And then we used to have a nurse practitioner, but she left in September.
She'd been there for a while then.
Yeah, she'd been there for 17 years. And then we have midwives. We have 3 midwives. But me and Kristen, the NP, we were the same thing. We were clinic only. Everybody else, the midwives and the docs, have like a call day and a post-call day. But yeah, I'm the only PA in the office. So
interesting. That's the one thing I love about our profession is like we're all 3 PAs and our jobs are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have the same title, but we do not do
Yeah.
any of the same things.
Yeah.
And
Wild.
Yeah. Then also, like, if I didn't want to work in gynecology anymore, my second interest, far from first, but second interest was peds. So,
okay.
like, if I, was like, I really don't like this repetition, I could go work in peds, but peds is also repetitive. So,
I think everything like, I think I've decided everything kind of is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's so. That
eventually.
my thing was like I don't want repetition.
Like, day to day.
Right, and so like
Yeah.
thankfully I was able to talk to my supervisor about that, and I am currently credentialed I think at 4 or 5 different hospitals. So like next week I'm at 3 of those 5 hospitals. So it's pretty nice.
I would hate that.
And I love it because I get to see all the different people every single day.
See,
Yeah.
I am an extrovert
I like
and
being in an
introvert,
office.
and so if I am in a situation to where I'm having to meet new people or be with people I haven't seen in a while, I like pull back. But if I'm like with the same people every day, I'm like, "What's up, Dr. Scheimer? Hey!" Like,
See, I
I'm
like
like
that
the
better.
personality in our office.
Yeah,
I can see that, Brittany. I
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah. But if I had to go to 3 different hospitals in 1 week,
That would be a lot.
I would be
Yeah,
so-
see, I don't think I'm a hospital person.
no.
That's what
No.
I decided. Like, that's just like not my
Yes.
setting. I would be fine if I had to do it, but like it wouldn't be my preference ever.
I'm glad you would be. I
But
wouldn't be. I
like,
wouldn't be.
so here's my thing. I love an OR. Like, if I could do general surgery and like just be in an OR and not have like the schedule of general surgery and the
Right,
call and all that, like
Right.
I would
All
love
the
that.
other shit.
Yeah, like, but like that's where derm, I still get to do procedures, but it's not that. But yeah, my second, if I didn't do derm, I would do either general surgery or endocrinology would be my second.
Ooh.
Which so here's the thing. So I hated it in PA school. I hated it. Like, that was my least favorite section of didactic. So because of that, when I was choosing rotations, our internal
Oh, you're
medicine,
one
you
of
got
those
to
people?
split it. You got
You're
to split
one of
it.
those people?
And so I went and I did an endocrine rotation and I loved it. I was like, this makes no sense because I hate this, but now I love this. And so I just like, and honestly, I had a terrible preceptor. Like, I did not like him at all. But just actually doing endocrine, I enjoyed so much. And so
That's like,
isn't that so weird though?
I mean, when people would say, like, yeah, do your electives and what you didn't do well in didactic, I'm like, I would never do a cardio rotation in my life. Keep me away from the heart.
I
I am
probably
down
should
the
have.
body a substantial amount, from the heart to, where I need to be. That's a pretty good, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
You'd be a podiatrist.
I could be a foot PA, but
See, I would not want to do. I see way too many feet in my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you do.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
No.
yeah. I send a lot of vulvar moles to you.
Yes.
I send a lot of hair thinning, acne. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we do get a lot of those referrals.
Yeah. But then it makes me think, do you take your dermatoscope and get in there?
What? If you send me a vulvar mole?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing, and that's the thing. Like, if it is external, like I can see it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people come and they're like, I have this like internal mole, and I'm like,
Oh.
I don't, like, I literally can't.
Well, then that's
I don't
not
have
like
the tools
skin
to
anymore,
see
though.
that. Yeah, and so and that's a few certain people that will send that to us, and we're like, hey, like, we just aren't really equipped for that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I will tell you the first biopsy I ever did on a vulvar mole, that was also the first patient who ever passed out on me, like right in the middle, like just out. And
At least you didn't have
and it was also like I was fairly new. I'd only been practicing for maybe like 6-8 months, and I like went to my doctor and I was like, hey, like, I've never done this type of biopsy before, like, what do I need to do? She's like, it's fine, just do it normal, like you always would, like just do a little punch, it's fine. And I was like, okay. And then the patient passes out, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. Oh my gosh.
Sternal rub. Here we go.
Now it's
She
fine.
shouldn't
Now
have
it's fine.
fall. She was already laying down.
Yeah, she was laying down, but like eyes rolling back, like
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it wasn't good. But and then I was like in the middle of it, I was like, I just gotta finish this. Like y'all fan her, y'all talk to her, like get her awake, but like I got it finished.
Well, now you gotta close up that little hole you just put there.
Yep. And that's what we did. So
And she was awake
yeah.
by the end.
Yeah, she was. Wasn't very happy with me, but it's fine.
You're just trying to save her life.
And then they wonder why I keep my rooms on like 68 degrees. I'm like, it's gotta stay cool in here. Everybody's gonna pass out on me.
I have an extra fan, so anytime anybody gets like, I feel woozy, I'm like, get my fan.
Yeah, I feel like a little hot. I'm like, lay back.
Snack? I got peanut butter crackers.
We got a Coke and a straw. Yep. Yeah. Fun times in medicine.
Yeah.
I've had only one person pass out, but they hadn't drinking fluids in days, so that was a good reason. So I just held on to the little fluoroscopy machine, and we went back down. It was good.
I've never had anyone pass out on me. Nauseous, yes.
Really?
But
knock on wood.
Usually the people that pass out are the people who are in lab. We have a special whistle system. So Miss Betty has a whistle that she blows whenever somebody is starting to pass out, and then the providers will go up there and make sure that
yeah, we have quite a few, honestly, with biopsies and procedures.
The one time I vasovagal was in derm.
Like watching it or like on you?
Watching it.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I did the first time I saw a punch biopsy, I was in college shadowing, and you just don't expect it to be as deep as it is and all that. And then the PA looked at me and she was like, "You need to sit down," and I was like, "Yep,
yes, ma'am.
Yes, I do.
Yes, ma'am." No,
and
mine was.
I'm glad she said that.
A Mohs, right?
Mine was a cyst excision, like on the shoulder.
A lot.
And it, you can excise any cyst anywhere on the body, and I'd be fine. But just the shoulder, where there's like not a whole lot of tissue there, and like the weird scraping noises, that's what got me. And I've watched knee replacements, I've watched C-sections, I've
seen a lot by that point.
Barbaric stuff, and and that I was like. All I could think of was like Justin PA, Justin PA at Justin PA on Instagram. She was like, she's a surgery PA, so she's like, if you're gonna pass out, leave. Do not be a second patient in the room. And so like my butt was sweating. I was starting to get like cold, but I was sweating. I was starting to get nauseous. I was like, I need to get out of here. And I was like, don't be a little bee, Brittany. Don't be a little.
No, you gotta get out.
Yeah, but I was like, get out. And I was like, I'm gonna go sit out here. And I like went and sat in a chair, and my preceptor like walks around the corner because he was not in that procedure. And he was like, "Oh, you were very white." And I was like, yeah, not feeling the best. And then that night, I was staying at my cousin's house for that rotation, and I was like, I need to wash my pants. I got sweat all up in my booty. It was not a good situation. It was not good.
Everybody has their like thing, and I think if you see it enough, you get immune to it. But yeah, that's how I am with ortho stuff, like bones. I don't do, and I had the exact same experience on a ER rotation. A kid had broken both of his arm bones, and they had him sedated, and the doctor was like, "Here, come feel it. You need to recreate the injury to set it." And he like made me feel it and move it around. And my vision just started like going. I could feel it, and I was like, and I was like, I'm gonna go. And so I walked out, and like at that point, like couldn't see, just stars. And I sat down in the nurse's station, like in a chair, and they came out and they're like, "You look like a sheet."
Yep.
I was about to hit the floor. Yep.
Isn't it crazy?
Don't do that to me again. And then my preceptor was like, "Yeah, ER's not for you." And I was like, okay.
I don't think that means that, though. I really hate critical things like that.
I don't either, but he was very, like, blunt and straightforward, and he was just like...
I could totally do derm. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But like
You just
maybe
get
like
used to it.
excisions on shoulders, I would give that to Savannah.
Well, so like the PA I work with, she won't do any cysts.
Really?
So she won't do, she doesn't do any cyst excisions. Like she just doesn't like them. And that's
Yeah.
fine. And then the other PA that works with us doesn't do any excisions at all.
Yeah.
So
Do you do
whatever.
excisions?
I
Yeah.
love them. Like I would be fine doing all of that.
Yeah. Well, the precept. So I did a germ rotation, and the PAs didn't do excisions.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was like
it's practice dependent. So my old practice, I didn't do them very much,
Mm-hmm.
but I did a lot more cosmetics. And then this office, I do a lot more surgical cases and less cosmetics.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
which is my preference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. On the last day of my derm rotation, I saw this great, and you probably call them something different, but blackhead on this person's back. And I was like, I was telling my preceptor that I wanted to get these things so bad, but he was like, oh, nope, gotta suggest an excision for that because you gotta get the whole sac out. Whatever.
Oh, yeah. Can't strain it.
Yeah. And the last, I like pointed out to him, I was like, and then he's like, you got a pretty big open codome on the back of on your back. Do you want us to get that for you? And I was like, really? And so I got it out, and I even got the sac out too.
Good job.
It was quite.
Derm's very rewarding.
Yes.
When you like fix it or get it or whatever. You're just like,
get it.
Got that. I got that.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, I'm sure you see it with like HS, like in the groin and stuff.
Yeah, we get a lot of those referrals from you guys.
Yes, that is also another one that I send to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they'll be like, I get these bumps all over me, and I'm like, yeah.
That's a brutal disease process there.
Tough. It is. Luckily, thankfully, we have more options now.
Yeah. I've seen some commercials out there.
Yeah. Because when I started, like, we just didn't really have much at all.
Like more antibiotics, right? Like essentially.
Yeah, antibiotics, topicals. Sometimes hormonal therapy will help some, but like now there are some medicines that do better, and then really like even surgery doesn't help often and can cause some problems. So
scarring on top of scarring, really.
Yep, exactly. And so it's like that's a tough one. That's the hard part about derm is there are so many things that like we don't have a reason for. Like why it happened or why somebody has it.
Yeah.
And we don't have a cure.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of conversations about that.
Yeah. I always tell people I can't tell you what you do have, but I can tell you what you don't have.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that and figuring out. So yeah. But it's fun. I'm not planning on going anywhere. Like my job.
Yeah. Yeah. You also have one of those coveted jobs.
I do. And I have a fantastic office and practice that is just like crazy flexible and kind. And I like, as long as y'all have me, I will be here.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's kind of how I feel about mine.
I feel really happy every day that I'm like, I somehow landed this great job with great pay, really good benefits, and they're actually willing to teach me everything that I need to know, and they're not going to force me. Like, what? And
that's the thing. Like, I think all of us have great jobs. Like, it's like you hear a lot of complaints about jobs, but like we're here to say, like, there are also great jobs out there.
Yeah, I think also though you have to be adaptable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I really do like my job. So I think it was a good place for like new grads. Really good place for new grads because we have what did I say, 6 doctors? I don't know if that's accurate, but
a lot of people to learn from.
And like I'm constantly surrounded by people, so I always had somebody to ask questions to whenever I had to.
I'm lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, y'all are great to talk to. This is gonna be like one of my favorite episodes ever.
Glad to help. We like it.
Yeah,
I feel like y'all should have your own podcast.